right, well, happy Friday. Let's get started. Welcome to our Grow with GoGo class. So we'll be going through our usual spiel before we get moving. So this is part of our free Go with GoGo series that you get as a member. Oops. So some of the things that you can access as a GoGo member are rides, meals, groceries, medication delivery, and home services. And you can get all of that by just calling one number, and that number is 855-464-6872. Also a reminder that we have a refer a friend program. So at the bottom of your receipts, if you refer your friend and give them the code, then they get $10 in credit and so do you. So it's a nice win-win. We also have a Facebook group. So if you want to continue any of these conversations online, you can head over to our Facebook group and share or just see what other people are sharing. So if we haven't met, I'm Adra. I teach the yoga and the functional fitness class. Today, all that you need are a set of weights and a chair. If you do not have weights, you can grab cans, water bottles, or nothing at all, and that would be totally fine. And then that's it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to stop sharing. Since it's a small group, does anybody have any requests? Oh.
I love Bertha.
Oh, Bertha, I think you're saying something, but you're muted.
Got it. Adra, maybe a little work on posture.
Yeah, let's do some posture stuff today. Great idea. Anyone else? Any other requests? You can put it in the chat or say it out loud since it's a small group. Each of you could have one request and we could make them all happen. Well, maybe, unless you ask for something crazy, in which case I will refuse. No? Okay, so we'll focus on posture, but we'll do a bit of everything as usual. Remember to be kind to your body, only do things that feel good, and have fun. So, let's see, let's get started. All right, let's stand up. Let's just shake it off. So shake out those arms, shake out those legs. And then just grounding those feet. You know what, I'm gonna center my computer. It feels a little lopsided. There we go. And then just pause and just notice how your body is positioned. So there's no right or wrong, and you're not trying to stand in the correct way. Just want you to pause and feel, how are you positioned? Where is the weight on your feet? So again, no need to change anything yet, right? We'll work on improving our posture, but first we want to see, where do we begin? Notice where the weight is on our feet. Are you forward or back, to one side or the other? Notice how far apart your feet are. Notice if one foot is turned out or turned in, or if both are. Then start to move up the chain, noticing those knees. So just sensing where your knees are positioned. Are they knocking in, so turning in? Are they turning out? Are they straight forward? Are they bent? Are they straight? Are they hyperextended? Are they past straight? Again, there's no right or wrong right here. We're just seeing, where does the body like to position itself naturally? Just habitually. How do we position ourselves? And then same thing, noticing those thighs and how the thighs go into the hip socket, so into the pelvis. Noticing that region. And then noticing how your pelvis is positioned. So sometimes we sense that the pelvis is sort of forward, where the tail is sort of back, or sometimes the pelvis is sort of tucked under and the tail is tucked under. So just noticing, you don't need to change anything. You're noticing, how is my pelvis positioned on my leg bones? And then feeling, how is the spine positioned? So feeling the low back and how it stacks on the pelvis. Noticing how your middle back or that center part of the back is positioned. And then also your upper back and neck. Again, there's no right or wrong. You're noticing. Because things that happen in one part of the body may affect things in another part. So you're just sensing, where is the weight of my feet? Where are my knees? Where are my hips? How is my spine? Where is my neck? Noticing your ribs. So your rib cage, all of those ribs around, right? They attach at the front. Sorry, I just hit the mic, so hopefully that didn't create a really loud noise. Attach at the front at your sternum and at the back at your spine. So just noticing, how are the ribs? How are they positioned? Are they out wide? Are they pulled in? Are they moving? Are they stiff? Then feeling those shoulder blades. So the shoulder blades rest on our rib cage. And then those arm bones come off from the shoulder blades. Noticing, how do the arms position? Where are the arms? Are they a little forward? Are they back? Are they directly by your side? Are the hands turned to face back, to the side, forward? Again, there's no right or wrong. You're just noticing, how does the body position itself? And then finally, feeling the head and noticing where the head is positioned on your spine. So sensing that position that you're in. And then shake it off. And then we're going to align ourselves nicely, and then we're going to move into some strengthening to improve some of that alignment. So starting with our feet, go ahead and take a moment and look down at your feet. And as best you can, you're going to try and get those toes to face straight forward. So toes are pointing straight forward. And then notice that once your toes turn straight forward, sometimes that makes those knees knock in. And sometimes, for some people, it will make the knees knock out. Can you adjust your thighs to let those knees track forward as your feet are forward? Can the feet and the knees be facing forward at the same time? Allow your feet to be about 4 to 6 inches apart. So what we want is that our thigh bone is right at our hip socket. So our hip sockets are here. They're not out here. Sometimes we think, oh, the hip sockets are out wide by the hips. No, they're actually quite narrow. And so we want to stack ourselves so that our feet are actually underneath where our hip sockets are, not out wide, just to create the best biomechanical position, the most optimal position. So feet are parallel, toes face forward, knees face forward, feet aren't too wide. They're also not too narrow, so that they're directly under where our hip sockets are. And then feeling that weight on the feet. See if you can find relatively even weight, front to back, right to left. And maybe allowing those knees to be soft. So they're not bent, they're not hyperextended, they're just soft. So they're pretty straight. I'll go turn sideways. So my knees are straight. I'm just not past straight. So I'm not locked out on those knees, right? My knees are soft and relaxed. The kneecaps are soft and relaxed. And then sensing the pelvis and seeing if you can allow your pelvis to be directly over the ankle bones, right? So our weight is pressing down evenly into the feet. Can the pelvis be directly over the ankle bones versus, I'll show you, this, right? We don't want that weight way forward in the pelvis, and nor do we want this. So figuring out, it's kind of trying to ignore that upper body for a moment to feel, where is the pelvis? Is it forward over the toes? Is it back? Usually it's not back. I don't usually see this, but sometimes that happens. Can it sit right over those ankles? A nice even weight on those feet. And then allow your rib cage to relax. Feeling those arms. Seeing if you can spin those arms just so that the palms face in towards each other versus back. So I have very tight shoulders, so you'll see my palms naturally face back, but ideally, palms would face in. So allow that rotation to happen a little at the shoulders. And then imagine that you have really pointy ears and that there are strings attached to the tips of the ears pulling you up towards the ceiling, finding a nice long back of the neck. It's almost like you're creating a slight double chin. Another way to think about this neck position is that you have a ponytail, whether or not you have hair, but you have a ponytail, and that ponytail is pulling you up towards the ceiling. So you're thinking about length from the back of the neck. Let's take a deep inhale and a long exhale. Great, and then let's add some weight to these positions. So go ahead and grab your weights or your cans or your water bottles. We're gonna play around. So we're gonna go into some deadlifting with our weights. I'm gonna take off my sweatshirt, otherwise I'm gonna get too warm. So we're going to think about that upper body, right? That length in the back of the neck, that position of the arms, so palms facing in, ribs relaxed, so this is not happening. Pelvis over the heels as we do this hinge. So we're gonna keep those legs soft, not bent, not straight, soft. And we're going to hinge. So the only thing that's moving is our pelvis rolling over our thigh bone. So that's this motion of this hard bone. It's actually 3 bones, but this hard bone around our pelvis rolling over that thigh bone. So we're gonna hinge forward, and I'm just looking at you, and then come back up. And see how I naturally turn my palms to face back. Let's play with trying to keep those palms facing in towards each other. So hinging forward, noticing those habits that we have, and then back up. So depending on your hamstring flexibility, you might not go very far, and that's fine. So just for this first few, keep those legs pretty straight, keeping those hips over those heels. Just do 2 more like that. Now we're gonna go into a more traditional deadlifts where we're gonna bend our knees and let the hips go back. So the knees bend and the hips go back. So we're finding now 2 points of movement. So the pelvis rolls over the thighs and the knee joints bend. Look at those knees. Are those knees knocking in or out? Can you keep them tracking straight forward? Push down into the heels to rise. Spine stays long the whole time, ribs stay relaxed. So just avoid this. Right, I don't know if you can see, it's not a back bend, right? Our torso is nice and long. We're also avoiding this. It's not a rounding of the back. Spine stays neutral the whole time. So knees bend, hips go back. Watch those knees, they're tracking straight forward. And then push down into the feet to rise. So you can imagine, right? We have very light weights, but imagine you have heavier weights. And notice what that does to your body, how much more work it has to do when we imagine that we have something heavy we're carrying. We're grounding down into the feet as we rise. Also noticing, did you change the position of the legs? Can you let those legs stay in that relatively narrow position? They're 4 to 8 inches apart so that those ankle bones end up underneath where the hip sockets are. Couple more. Noticing those knees, noticing your neck. Keep that neck in line with the spine. So watch that you're not keeping your chin jutting forward. So I'm going to show you what you don't want to do. Sometimes we see this. We want that neck in line with the spine. All right, that's enough of that. We'll come back to this movement a little bit later, but let's move to the upper body. So keep holding onto your weights. Let's turn those palms to face forward. We're going to move into some bicep curls. So as we do our bicep curls, we can still notice and think about where the rest of the body is positioned. So are your feet pointing forward or has one leg turned out? Can you let those feet continue to face forward? Is it possible for the knees to keep facing forward as your feet are forward? So these are all things for you to think about, right? We don't want to force it. So if it hurts to try and reposition the body, then don't do it. Maybe do just a tiny bit of that idea. So especially if you're starting with those feet, keep doing your bicep curls. I'm just gonna keep talking, but let's say your feet are really turned out like the way mine are right now. It's too much to go all the way straight forward. So maybe from that super turned out, you go part way, right? Maybe an inch closer with those toes, right? So feeling free to adjust so that it's not painful, but that there's some challenge involved. Couple more curls. Keep going. I'm gonna adjust my camera because this next exercise, you're gonna wanna be able to see more. All right, and then let those arms relax, shake it off. We're moving into overhead pressing. Now, this is an interesting one for us to pay attention to our posture. So without thinking about it, just go ahead and press your arms overhead and notice, whether it's with weights or not, notice what your spine does, what your torso does. What I'm looking for here is pure shoulder and arm movement and not chest and spine movement. So I'm going to show you what not to do again. This is not what we're doing, because this is not, if we think about it, if I reposition where my torso is, that means my arms are way in front of me. So if it's too much with weights, get rid of the weights. You're going to keep your ribs, your rib cage stacked over your pelvis over your heels, and then you're going into that overhead reach. It may feel like, so for me included, I have to go a little forward. If I bring my arms back anymore, my spine has to actually bring them back, not my shoulders. So you might find that the arms are slightly forward to maintain that posture. So core is engaged, rib cage is over the pelvis. We're not moving the spine. We're not moving the rib cage. It's those shoulder blades and upper arms that are moving. And when we do it like this, you might find, oh wow, this is really hard on those shoulders, because the shoulders are doing all the work and not the back. Couple more. All right, and then lowering those weights down for a moment. Woo. Shake it off. And then let's bring those weights in front of the chest. And you can always put those weights down if you're getting tired of holding them. We're going into a squat. So we'll take those legs. Let's go for a slightly wider squat. So legs are going to go a little bit wider than the shoulders. Toes are going to point just a little bit out. So we're not super parallel, we're not super turned out, we're just slightly turned out. Watch that those knees track with the toes. And by that I mean, we're not letting those knees knock in, right? So I want my knees to follow the direction of my toes. So whatever direction my toes are pointing, my knees are going to point that direction. We'll bend those knees, hips go back. You decide how low you go. Feel even weight on your feet as you rise. Down and up. Let's breathe. Inhale down, exhale up. And again, watching those knees. I want the knees to track with the toes. Which might mean, oh, it's really hard to go low, so you make it smaller. That's fine. Listen to your body. It's up to you how fast you go. Let's do a couple more. And coming up and shake it off. All right, we're going back to our deadlifts, the regular deadlifts, so not the straight leg ones, but the bent knee ones. So letting those feet, again, align. Ankles begin and end underneath the hips. So again, watching that you're not really far forward. You're not really far back. Your ribs are not puffing forward. That's not nice posture. You're not curved forward. Rib cage is directly over the pelvis. Now we bend the knees and the hips go back as we move into this deadlift. Spine stays long. Watch the neck. Push down into the feet to rise. So this is the motion that you want to be doing when you're picking something up that's relatively heavy. Or maybe it's just groceries. You're grabbing those groceries, grabbing those handles, spine is long, back of the neck is long, feet are lined up as you press down into those legs, into those feet to rise. Watching those knees, they're not knocking in, they're not pushing out too wide, they're tracking along the toes. Notice, is there more weight on one foot compared to the other? Can you even it out? Next time you're up, we'll pause and go back to those bicep curls. So palms rotate to face forward. Ankles are underneath those hips. Let's bend and straighten those arms. Noticing, where is your neck? Where is your rib cage? Are other things moving to try and make this motion happen? Sometimes we move the hips or swing. So this is what you don't want to do, right? We want to keep the rest of the body still. This is an isolated exercise where we're moving just one part of the body. Okay, take a little break, let those arms go, shake them off. Then we move into the overhead press. So remembering all of those pieces, that your torso is going to stay still, the pelvis is going to stay still. This is a shoulder and arm exercise. So elbows bend, hands or weights by the shoulders, press the arms up towards the ceiling and back down. So again, it's towards the ceiling. It's not actually directly up to the ceiling because most of us don't have the shoulder flexibility to go directly up to the ceiling. If you're going directly up to the ceiling, my guess is your spine is doing the work to do that. So you might find that those weights are just a little bit ahead of you. So if you're looking straight ahead, you might be able to just barely see the weights in your upper peripheral vision. And of course, if you have tighter shoulders, you could do one arm at a time. That makes it a little bit easier. Or you might find that those weights are a little more forward, and that's okay. You want to find that strength in the shoulders and not move this exercise into the spine. It's great to work on the spine. And so when we were doing those deadlifts, that creates stability around the spine and strength around the spine. We just want to be clear on what we're doing and why we're doing it. Couple more times. Wow, my shoulders are burning. Hopefully yours are too. And then letting those weights go down. Woo. Shaking them off. Let's go into those squats. Weights come by the chest. Feet go wider than the shoulders. Toes are pointing slightly out. Heels are slightly in. Knees track with the toes. Bend those knees. Hips go back. And then come up. You want to add the breath. We inhale on the way down. Exhale on the way up. Right, and coming up. Let's put those weights down. Shake it off. We're gonna go into some balance work with the chair. We're gonna start with heel raises. I'm gonna go behind the chair. You could also hold on to a wall or a table. You could also just have one hand on the chair. So one or both hands. I'm gonna go both hands for now. So checking out those feet again. Let's find that nice alignment today of those ankles being under those hip bones, and again, or our hip sockets. Our hip sockets are quite centered, right? So this is not our hip sockets. That hard bone there is just a protrusion of the bones, but that's not where the hip sockets sit. They sit more narrow. So that's about the width of where you want your feet. So hip socket hip socket width distance. Wow, that's a tongue twister. Hip socket width distance apart with those feet. Hands on your chair or table. We're going into heel raises. So heels come up and back down. So you might find that things move when you come up, right? Everything needs to restack itself so that the weight is over the toes instead of evenly over the toes and the heels. So just noticing that we're doing a weight shift. Is it possible to do the heel raises, pressing down into the balls of the feet with a little bit more weight on the big toe side than the pinky toe side? Is it possible to do this without letting those heels splay in or out? It's me a little bit hard to see because just feet are generally hard to see, but we're not doing this. So I don't know if you can tell, that's where my heels are kind of falling out. You want to keep those ankles directly under the knees. So not this, there, yeah. So ankles are directly under the knees, couple more. All right, and let's shake it off. Let's stretch those calves briefly. Step one foot back behind you. You can step that one foot maybe 2 to 3 feet back and then bend your front knee. Back leg stays straight. You'll feel a little stretch in the back of that back leg. And let's switch, step that back foot forward. Other leg goes back 2 to 3 feet back behind you. Front knee bends, back leg straight. And stepping forward. All right, now I'm going to turn sideways so I have just one hand on the chair. I'm going to do my left hand. So left hand on the chair or wall or table. We're going to balance on one leg. So left hand on, let's balance on that left leg. So same hand as leg are being supported. So left hand on the chair, left leg is balancing. Let's lift that right leg up. So noticing, can you maintain this sense of alignment within this position? So can you find some degree of alignment? Of course, we're gonna have to shift our weight more to the left because we're standing on that left leg, but can the other markers stay the same? Can we notice that the pelvis isn't way forward or way back? Otherwise, it would be really hard to balance. Can we keep that pelvis directly over the heel? Can the spine be long? Ribs are relaxed. If you feel okay here, maybe you float your foot, so not your foot, your hand off of the chair. You can hover, maybe it's just one finger, you're feeling that really nice alignment while you're balancing. Sometimes actually we have better alignment when we're balancing because we have to. We have to align our bodies in a really efficient manner to be able to stand on one leg. All right, let's come down, shake it off, turn around. So other hand to the chair, table, or wall. So we're being supported by the right hand and right foot. Left leg comes up in front of us. And again, notice, so I already felt that when I looked over at my camera, my weight was really far forward. And if I let go, that makes it really hard for the front of my leg and my shin. So notice, can you balance with your leg vertical? That standing leg should be vertical. It should not be angling one way or another. vertical leg. Finding that balance. Relaxed ribs. Back of the neck is long. Maybe you're playing with floating that right hand above your support. Maybe it's one finger on. And release, shake it off. Okay, we're going back to our heel raises. So you have two options, or well, we have three options. You redo what we just did. So holding onto the chair, all 10 toes face forward, heel raises. Option two, you do it without holding onto the chair. So maybe you hover your hands above your chair or next to your chair that you can grab on if needed, but you're gonna start to work on that balance. Option three, you hold your weights in your hands. So you have to be able to balance to do this. So don't do this if you can't balance. Would be to do the heel raises without holding onto the chair and hold weights instead. So go ahead and begin. You have those three options. Holding the chair with your heel raises, doing heel raises without holding the chair, maybe just hovering the hands above the chair or grab your weights. No matter what option you choose, you're still noticing the changes in alignment. You're still thinking, can I keep my ankles lined up, that I'm not letting those heels knock out, that there's a little bit more weight on the big toe side of the foot, so the inner part of the foot, just a tiny bit as you rise. All right, and let's shake it off. We're going back to that balance. So left hand to the support, left foot is balancing. We lift the right leg up. And then playing around, hovering that left hand above the chair, maybe not holding on at all. Feeling how does the body organize itself? Or noticing if your feet like to hop or adjust position. And just notice, how does it like to adjust? Does it like to turn in? Does it like to turn out? How does your body try and readjust to make the balance easier? Let's release, shake it off, and we'll switch sides. So right hand is supporting you, right foot is supporting you. We lift the left leg up. Again, notice, where is the weight on the foot? Find that balance or play with the balance. Notice what muscles work too. So if you're feeling a lot of the front of the leg on that standing leg, so the shin area, that's usually telling us you're really gripping. So usually that's a sign that you're way too far forward or way too far back. We don't want the front of the leg feeling like it's doing a ton of work. You should feel the back of the leg a little bit more. And feeling around the ankle, totally normal. All right, and coming down, let's shake it off. Okay, we're moving into some lunges and some triceps. These are our last few things here. Let's go into the triceps first. So grabbing those weights. We're going to go into that deadlift-like position, but only go maybe halfway. So the knees are bent, the torso is forward, back of the neck is long. We're gonna bend those elbows so the elbows reach up to the ceiling. From there, you're gonna keep those elbows high as you straighten your arms back behind you and bend those elbows. So we straighten and bend. Good, and coming up. Oh, shake it off. All right, I've actually changed my mind with our second exercise is we're gonna do our side lunges. We're gonna take the weights in front of us, feet go wide, toes can point out or forward. We're gonna bend one knee, so I want you to sort of let go of any kind of perfect alignment here. You're gonna bend one knee, hips go back. You might feel a little inner thigh stretch. You can let your torso come forward, straighten that leg and come back to center. Bend the other knee, hips go back, torso can come forward and back up. What I do want you to notice, the one thing I want you to pay attention to is how your knees relate to your feet when you do this. So I want your knees to track in the same direction as your feet. So if your feet are slightly turned out, then your knees should go slightly out. If your feet are straight forward, your knees should go straight forward. And coming up. Release, shake it off. Let's do those triceps one more time. So bending those knees, hips go back, spine is long. We bend the elbows so that those upper arms are almost parallel to the earth. Not quite, but almost. And then we straighten the lower arms up to the ceiling and bend. And coming up. Whew. Hands come by the chest. We're going into those wide side lunges. So legs go wide, knees track with the feet. You bend one knee, hips go back, knees tracking with the toes. Come back up and other side. All right, and coming back to center. Let's put those weights down. Shake it off. And then go ahead and find a nice standing position. Just however you'd like to stand. And then once again, pause. Notice, how does my body naturally align itself now? Same, different from the start of class? Then allow yourself to make just some micro adjustments. Can the toes mostly face forward? Can the knees mostly face forward? Can the knees be soft and not hyperextended or locked? Can the pelvis be directly over the ankles? Can the ribs be relaxed? Can those arms be relaxed without turning in? Can the palms maybe face towards each other? Can the back of the neck be long, like there's a string towards the back of the head, top back of the head, pulling you up towards the ceiling? Finding that even weight on those feet, maybe closing the eyes for a few moments. And taking a few deeper than normal breaths. And then let's inhale, circle the arms out to the side and up towards the ceiling, reaching tall. Exhale, palms touch, hands lower towards the chest. Let's do that 2 more times. Inhale, circle out and up. Exhale, hands come down. One more, inhale, circle out and up. Exhale, hands come down. Give yourself a round of applause. Awesome work, everybody. Great having you here. So today we did a lot more kind of specifics. I was very specific about how to position yourself. So I'd love to hear how that felt for you. Was that helpful? Was it overwhelming? Interesting? Did you learn anything about your body doing that? And you can either unmute yourself or put something in the chat. Go ahead, Bertha.
I appreciate the awareness that these exercises awaken me to, but also in the course of a day, sometimes I feel that my head is falling forward and I'm contracting my muscles in the front of my chest. And I know that's not really helpful as far as falling and staying upright goes.
Yeah.
So maybe the reminder of these exercises can help me. But I thought about the when you see the military fellows and girls, women now standing and bringing what you talked about, the double chin, that resonated with me also.
Yeah. And we don't want to be stiff, but having that awareness of, oh, am I contracting and letting my head come forward? Can I relax the front of the chest and lengthen the back of the neck while still being somewhat fluid, which is tricky. It's really tricky. But the awareness is the first step. So I love that you can start to think about, oh, what am I doing? How am I moving throughout the day? Can I adjust a little bit? Margaret said balance is your main problem. So balance exercises are very much appreciated. Wonderful. I'm happy to hear that you're enjoying the balance exercises. And those exercises, especially if you're near a wall, a chair, you can do them anytime. You know, just standing on one foot, practicing that. Just making sure there's something to hold on to safely. Also, I didn't say this, but playing around with different footwear. Your feet work a lot harder when you are barefoot than when you're in shoes. So really interesting to play with if it's safe for you to do a balance exercise without your shoes. You'll feel that other muscles start to have to get involved. So that can be a fun way to amp up some exercises that you're already doing.
Adrian, do you have any exercises that are good for people with some neuropathy?
Neuropathy is very tricky because it's very individualized. So neuropathy, for those who don't know, that's usually some kind of tingling or nerve changes peripherally. So that would be like in the limbs, tingling, numbness. It's really hard to know. So some people find stretches are helpful, but it depends on where the neuropathy is. So if it's in the fingers, sometimes some neck stretches are helpful. If it's in your legs, sometimes some hip stretches like figure 4 are helpful, but there's so many nerves that it would be hard to tell you what. So general stretching can be helpful. Well, today's Friday. So that means either I'll see you next Friday or on Wednesday. Wednesday is functional fitness again. Next Friday will be yoga. No other questions? Okay, awesome. Well, wonderful to have you. Have a great weekend, and I'm looking forward to seeing you next week.